Over the years, there's been a ton of mysteries from the Halo universe that were hot topics within the Halo community, speculating and wondering what could be of these random mysteries. Some of these are just mysteries that we came up with that we later figured out, or someone told us or solved it for us. And some of these are incredibly deep and awesome. So we wanted to go ahead and look into this just because there's been some huge things that have been discovered over the years that definitely deserve some attention and praise because of how cool they ended up being. And while we've done a video already on topics from Halo that have yet to be solved, we thought that doing one where we look into some of the things that have been solved and even solve some of those mysteries along the way could be a cool way to get prepared for the future of Halo. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Now, first off, this one was one that we actually figured out towards the end of our video where we looked at unsolved Halo mysteries. Matter of fact, we had already recorded the audio and the video was pretty much rendered and ready to go. So we put the video up anyways, but it was solved very, very shortly around that time. But it was the Mandela effect question that we had on Halo 3 ODST, where essentially all around the city, there are different graffiti phrases spread around New Mombasa, and there was on various websites reporting all of the different phrases that could appear in your game. Things like UNSC equals liars, hell on earth, etc. However, these websites listed fascists as one of the possible graffiti lines, and despite us looking through every single piece of graffiti in Halo 3 ODST, having community members go through all of the texture files in Halo 3 ODST to not find it, some people were really wondering whether or not this graffiti even existed, even though a ton of people remembered the graffiti existing in the game. And what ended up happening is that, yes, fascists still exists as graffiti in the game, but it's actually in an image on a wall inside of Sadie's story images. So a lot of people likely have subconsciously seen it when watching Sadie's story's visual art book that goes alongside it, and that's the only place it actually shows up in. Matter of fact, we went to the exact wall where the graffiti shows up in that image. We managed to find it, and we're pretty sure it's this wall right here. And yeah, the graffiti's not there by whatever happened between Sadie's story and the game taking place. Going on to Halo Reach, there's this mysterious Spartan that's just there if you go into theater mode and fly out of the map by doing a glitch, by doing it kind of at the very first frame of theater mode. We really didn't know the context as to why this Spartan was here. Actually, friend of the channel, Hark the Shark, suggested something that made complete sense, which is essentially that when they were building these structures in the background that weren't going to be accessible by players anyways, they used a Spartan model to make sure that the scaling of these structures would in fact make sense in the game. Thus, why we see the Spartan there. Also, on Pillar of Autumn, this one was funny, but whenever I would break out of the map, I always wondered why there was a random second Pelican just hanging out underneath the cliffs for whatever reason. And as it turns out, during the cutscene where you deliver the package, that second Pelican that sits there, if you're out of the map and you watch it, just kind of waits for its perfect opportunity to get shot down to make the stakes higher in this cutscene or something like that. But now we at least know why there's a second Pelican just down there, and that's the Pelican that crashes right there in the cutscene. Back in Halo 2, there was a lot of speculation as to what would end up happening in the end of Halo 2, and apparently there was a Warthog Run that was planned to kind of wrap up the entire story of Halo 2, much like Combat Evolved and Halo 3. Matter of fact, General Kid did a very interesting video, actually 2 videos on the topic. As it turns out, part of the level is actually accessible, and Modder Black Diamond was able to restore part of it, making it much more functional and playable, which is cool to see what this Warthog Run would have looked like. So you should watch General Kid's video if you haven't seen it already. And matter of fact, the Halo 2 storyboards are also available, and General Kid did a video covering the ending of Halo 2 we never saw, which is just incredibly interesting to see what that ending would have looked like, considering how much of a major mystery Halo 2's cut section of the game that we never got to see would have played like. It's actually quite different than what we had expected. Okay, so this one technically isn't a mystery that was solved, but it was something that was questionable lore as to whether or not it was canon or not that ended up being confirmed as a canon, which was really nice. But the whole I Love Bees storyline was kind of this gray area in the Halo canon. But later on, a few years later in releases, a lot of the events from I Love Bees were kind of solidified as a canon status. And we talked a bit on this in our I Love Bees video, which is honestly one of our favorite ARGs coming from Halo and has such a unique story that we just love the fact that this is a story that officially exists in Halo canon. And to make it even better, our boy the Spider made an appearance in the Halo Infinite trailer, which essentially means this character, or this program really, coming from I Love Bees, something introduced in I Love Bees, is directly going to be in Halo Infinite, even if it is the smallest little form. This next one is one that we've covered on this channel before, but essentially way back in the earlier days of Combat Evolved, there was this mysterious texture that was discovered in Combat Evolved of this woman that was just there, sitting there amongst all the other random bitmap files that belonged to Combat Evolved, though nowhere in Boarding Action, the level where this bitmap file was discovered from, was this image in the actual game. So fans already started speculating that there was an Easter egg that was somewhere hidden inside of the level Boarding Action in Combat Evolved that never actually made it into the game, and later a Bungie employee would respond saying it was actually an Easter egg that was in a earlier build of the game that was cut, though the bitmap file ended up staying in there, and that the person who worked on that map no longer was working alongside Bungie anyways. So that was kind of the end of the mystery there. However, years later, a pre-build version of Halo Combat Evolved would leak online, and modder Alien noticed this random platform on Boarding Action. He jumped down there to investigate and walked through the wall and found this secret shrine to this guy's girlfriend, who apparently from our comment section left a comment and said that they're married now. So kind of a wholesome ending, surprisingly. We did a whole video covering the detail, the mystery, and the closer story behind that on our channel, so you guys should go check that out if you still want to know more about that. Okay, on Halo 3, this room that's kind of secret where you go to find the last terminal has always been really interesting to me. Besides the subtle homage to 2 Betrayals, where you have to go into these rooms and activate these types of beam things by standing in them, I always felt like there was more to this room and more you could discover, and I always wanted to see what was just on the other side of the room. I don't know why, it was just that one place that was always unreachable to me. And when the Acrophobia skull came out, I finally was able to find a way to do it without having to figure out how to spawn bump or figure out any number of other glitches along the way. So sure enough, I used the Acrophobia skull and just barely was able to crouch through this little opening in the upper section, and I was able to explore the back area to this room, and I was so hyped to finally get back there. I mean, there's nothing back here at all, it's just really dark, but the fact that I finally made it back there was a huge deal to me for whatever reason. Now also, when we were doing some of our favorite Easter egg videos way back in the earlier days of Rocket Sloth, we were getting footage of us looking at the dancing developer in this same open area, and somehow my wife managed to fall down into the lower area of the level and not die, which was very confusing for whatever reason. We had no idea how she managed to survive that, and sure enough, I finally was able to recreate this glitch with Acrophobia, making it easier to jump around and explore. But as long as you jump down and you do it in this way, where you kind of land from this platform down to this platform and then jump down from there, you actually can survive and walk around in this lower section. There's not much to it, but at least that mystery was solved to us. One of the earliest Rocket Sloth mysteries to date. Okay, this next one's not really the same type of mystery, but when Halo 2 Anniversary released, there was a lot of speculation that the multiplayer side of things didn't really feel like Halo 2 quite yet. Not that they said that the multiplayer would be an exact recreation of the original Halo 2 multiplayer, but a lot of fans were still led to believe that it was going to be a limited number of levels upscaled and redesigned from Halo 2's engine. However, it wasn't the case. It clearly was using a different engine, and there was a lot of speculation it was Halo 4's engine, and that's kind of where most people stood and believed. But when MCC finally released, sure enough, there was confirmation that it likely was a very close replica of Halo 4's original engine, with modifications to make the game play like Halo 2, because of the fact that a lot of assets from Halo 4 and Halo 2 could be injected into one another with little to no extra work in some cases. So that was really interesting to have that final confirmation that, yeah, Halo 4 and Halo 2A are very similar. It does make us wonder if Halo 4 would have been much more well received had it played like Halo 2 Anniversary in its original launch. Also, in the earlier days, there was a cut sprint sprinting animation from Halo 2, where for whatever reason it's middle fingers. I think there's a story and backstory behind it. They had to do animations for every single weapon in sprinting, and then it got cut altogether. But apparently this one still actually works. In Halo 2 Anniversary, if you mod the game to enable the original sprinting into the campaign, and then you correlate that into the newer graphics as well, I don't know, something kind of pointless, but a mystery solved nonetheless. But that's it for today. What did you guys think? Make sure you guys are subscribed with notifications on so you get notified when we do put videos out. Also, make sure you check out our Discord, link in the description down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Rocket Elijah or at Rocket Sloth Luke. Otherwise, we'll see you all next time with a brand new upload.